a lot of people might still think about AI products as question, Q&A, and then there is accuracy. But actually, I would say think in a different way. So the AI is not really just a kind of search or Q&A bot. AI is really, I'm treating it as a team member. If it's not really my digital twin, at least it start growing into that direction. Start from junior, moving to senior, and continue growing. So if you're thinking in that way, I think do not treat it as I'm having the right or wrong answer. It's really what is the most relevant and what is the most kind of fresh information that will help human to make a decision. So that's a better way to frame that kind of interaction. And come to us, how are we evaluating it? It's not about to say, hey, how many questions you're asking, how many meeting summaries you're really kind of check. It's just simple assistance. So we're talking about to say, what are you going to complete? What is really the task you're trying to kind of check after this meeting?
Welcome back to Deployed. I'm joined today by Lijuan Qin. She's head of product for Zoom AI. Everyone knows Zoom. Maybe not everybody knows what they're doing with AI at Zoom. Lijuan was great to come and share what they're up to, including with some stuff that's not quite released, where they're talking about building an agent system that helps people close the loop from the meetings that they're in all the time, acts as an assistant during meetings, and generally helps go from whatever conversations are happening all the way through to completion for tasks that people need. Lijuan talks about a vision for building a digital twin to help people with their work. So it's a fascinating conversation. We get into topics about product strategy and how she thinks about building in this space, topics about quality and how they're approaching building, and then a lot of good conversation about how she thinks about running a team and getting high quality AI products out to customers. It's a great conversation. Thanks for listening. And with that, we'll jump right in. Hey, welcome Lijuan to the podcast. Excited to have you here today and talk with our audience about what you're doing at Zoom AI. So thank you for joining us. And yeah, I think it'd be great to just start off, high level. Tell us who you are and what you're working on.
Hi, Ian. So great to be here. I'm the head of the product for Zoom AI, and I'm so happy to be here to join this conversation to share how I have been using AI every day and how I've been building AI in Zoom.
That's awesome. And you've been doing this for a long time. I think there's a lot of people that are coming into conversation that describe how they're using AI, and maybe that started 3 years ago with ChatGPT, or maybe it started even sooner. You have a PhD in this field. You worked at Microsoft for 20 years. You've been working at a high level on all sorts of AI projects in the past. So maybe you could just give us a little bit more context. Like, what have you done through your career? How did you get started working on AI in the first place? And, as much as you're willing to share, just kind of like, what has the transition been like getting into generative AI for you?
Yeah, well, okay, as you mentioned, I've been in this area for more than 20 years. It's a long time. And when I was started, of course, as my PhD is doing the AI, at that time, it is natural language processing. And also have been doing the multimedia understanding. So it sounds very interesting back to 20 years ago. And now today is, oh yeah, this is our daily life. So the only thing I was not doing at the time is actually the speech recognition and processing. And now this is where I am in Zoom, focus on the speech, focus on the conversation to completion. But overall, it's a very amazing journey to move from the traditional classic AI, transition into this new gen AI, and actually we're getting into the real AGI, agent digital labor kind of stage of the life.
Yeah, that's always an interesting phrase, right? The AGI phrase is a bit of a loaded one. How do you think about, in your worldview, what does that definition mean? What's it mean for us to get there?
Well, for me, I say I'm a strong believer of AGI, even if when I was writing my PhD thesis, I've been dreaming on that. And lucky we're actually in that stage. And again, I'll always see AGI as really help here to get everyone to be stronger rather than to really have the fear of what it means. I think that's maybe one thing I'm to say ahead. And on the other side, I think we're creating AGI together every day, because one of the key things is really reinforcement learning. So the more we're interacting with AI, the AI is growing. So everyone is the builder of AGI.
You're one of the few people I hear who like frames it that way in the positive. I think a lot of folks are afraid of it. So, I feel like I appreciate what you're saying, right? Especially with all the advancements in the models in the past 3 months. They're increasingly as good or better than humans. I saw Linus Torvalds, post the other day that, Claude Code did a better job on a PR than he would have. So it feels like something is starting to happen when that's being said. You worked at Microsoft for a long time. Like anytime someone's at a place for 20 years and then they decide to make a jump, I want to hear a little bit more about your Zoom journey, but what led you to Zoom, this current role? Like what made you excited to go work on the problems you're working on now with Zoom AI?
Yeah, I think, of course, I would say I've been following my manager, my leader, my mentor, XD, who has been really amazing visionary leader in this area. But on the other side, I would say there's one thing very unique for Zoom is Microsoft has been very big. It's almost this is amazing home family for me that I have learned and grow to say I can do everything in Microsoft almost. But once the AGI time is coming, I feel like it's really not to say I can do things that works for everyone. It's better to say I can do one thing and do an amazing job on that one thing. So Zoom is the place I have strong belief it has a unique one thing. That is a conversation.
Right.
So you and me have the most authentic human to human conversation. And this is really have the richest context that is most meaningful in this AGI world. I was joking to say, hey, this is the authentic food for the AGI world rather than the synthetic data. So that's why I really want to come to Zoom and with this dream of conversation to completion to get things done.
No, that's cool. And that's a big change I know for Zoom, right? Like a lot of people started with Zoom if it's just a video conferencing service. You all are starting to, close that loop from conversation to getting things done. I've paid attention about just to what you're building, but what can you tell the audience, like, when you talk about Zoom AI, for anyone who hasn't used it or like gotten full exposure to what you're doing, what is the scope of Zoom AI today? What are the main problems it's solving for your customers? We get to just hear you give us the overview.
Yeah, as you said, most people think about Zoom as just a Zoom meeting, online meeting, but actually Zoom is amazing. It is really have very kind of great coverage of the products on all your conversations. For example, we have the contact center, right? A lot of those customer calls, and also we have the virtual agents, ZVA, and also we have the Zoom phone as well. So all of those covers all your conversation that's happening around you. So this is to give us really a very strong foundation to say, hey, as human being, we're talking, we're saying, and then AI will be part of our conversation to bring that output. So this is where we're really looking to the Zoom AI. It's not only about to say, hey, we're going to give you another kind of long list of meeting notes or transcription. This is really when we're talking, the work can be kicked off. And the done is really based on you and my different flavors. So this is the part I think this is where Zoom AI is focused on.
No, that's interesting. And you all have a really unique data set, right? I think that's part of what you're saying. And going to a company with just like doing one thing well, all the conversation has generally been unused by businesses until now. You're in a great place to do something with that. What are some of the most compelling or interesting or unique things that you see people doing with Zoom AI today? I feel like everybody knows the make a transcript of my call or maybe make some next actions for me at the end. I have a feeling you see much more interesting use cases than that. And I'm just curious, what some stories are.
Yeah, at first I would say it's coming soon, but if today people are using the AI.zoom.us, actually already able to try it out. So we're really focused on the completion. So as you have been talking, now people is already take it for granted to say, oh, there's AI can do my note taker, can have a list of action items. But this is something actually 8 years ago has been done. So I was the one in Microsoft announced it in Microsoft Build. Big keynote, people say, wow, how AI can do that? But today everyone feel like it's natural. But the biggest secret is the action items, the tasks is not done post. So it's really kind of we're doing the workflow, how we can help you to get things done, get all the actions happening right now. This is really the aha moments. And I think this is the value we're bringing with new features we're going to GA release very soon. And also, I think this is really help us moving into that new area of agent. So we do not think agent is really someone I need to ask to say, hey, it's agent Lijuan, you do ABC. Actually, this is really my chief of staff or my AI companion, as how we're calling out feature. It's been there on the shoulder and knows this is going to happen and get things done with my control, with full transparency. I think this is really the aha moments we're getting into.
That's interesting. Like, there's so many people building agent platforms right now. It feels like there's, whether it's on the developer framework side or on the, B2B user facing side, like there's a bunch. I'd be interested to hear you talk a little bit about like your thinking as a product leader, right? And when it comes to strategy for people that are thinking about, their own strategy in the product space, like you've probably had this experience too. I bet they're mostly Zoom for you, but I've joined video calls sometimes where there's literally more AI assistants joining the call than there are people on the call because somebody signed up for 2 different services and they just follow them around. What do you feel like you all can do with an agent platform that like nobody else could do? And like, how do you think about differentiation and unique value in this landscape? But just be cool to hear your thoughts on the strategy side.
Yeah, thank you for bringing it up. As you mentioned, we're really kind of in a very confusion word to say, am I talking with a real person? Am I talking with a bot? There are 2 person, maybe there are 3 bots taking notes there. I'll take it as an in-between stage. So people are trying to figure out how I can at least get a sense of with the AI note taker, how it looks like. This is actually the advantage of Zoom is Zoom is really having the best kind of video call experience. And we're getting the new features out to really cover all the kind of your conversations, not only about Zoom meeting. So this is really how we can make people have a simple life rather than think about which bot I need to bring to which conversation. So I'm always believing, I think this is another reason I want to join Zoom is simplicity. So make it stupid simple, just with a link, you can join a Zoom meeting. So I think the AI in this world, the AI companion we're building up is make it very simple. Is whenever you're doing, it's with you. You do not need to worry about, am I bringing the right bot into the right meeting? This is very, very important. I think in the AI world, not to add complexity or create more confusion to users rather than to say, hey, it's invisible, but it's there. And then whenever it's needed, it will support you. I think that's a fundamental kind of difference that Zoom is bringing into this world.
Most of the, I'm not sure if this is what you're saying, but most of the AI assistants that join video calls today are kind of just one directional. They're recorders. And you're talking about like pivoting that where you have an assistant on a call with you and it's, helping you out. I know you're getting ready to launch some things. So tell us what you're comfortable to tell us about. But are there fundamentally new ways that you feel like, a Zoom assistant will be able to help people out versus what they're used to from the past?
Yeah, there's nothing really as secret because we have been talking about this conversation to completion, this vision and mission for a while. So we're just continue kind of walking towards that direction. And come to the completion, is people think about completion is after meeting, I need to think about what I've talked about, what my friends Ian has been talking about, what I need to write. But what we're trying to do is when you know this is what you and Ian going to deliver after this meeting. So if anything we can do during the conversation, we'll get it done in a very natural flow. So this is where I think it's very important. Don't think about a meeting as a static input, but this is a dynamic interaction, collaboration, and then we're adding AI into it. And again, the purpose is not to say we're confused by many bots. It's really make you and me focus on all collaboration engagement and get the tasks, get whatever the extra steps handled by AI. So that's part of the thing we have been doing the beta release called workflow last year. And this is where we're pushing for GA soon.
That's awesome. I mean, you're getting into some interesting territory, right? Which is, if the assistant that's sitting on a call with you can be dynamic and act in real time, and you're not just trying to transcribe a call and produce an artifact to summarize later. I mean, I can see a lot of interesting product like interaction models for how that comes to life. I'd just be purely curious, like, how do you imagine this works? Is everybody going to make their own custom version? Are companies going to build templates and share them with their employees? Are they going to have 4 or 5 or 50 assistants joining that have different tasks that they do for them? Like, what is the product experience that you think, makes sense for this kind of paradigm as it rolls out?
Yeah, I love your question because there are two sides we can answer it. The first one, I think the long-term North Star, Eric has been always say he's dreaming for a digital twin from the first day we're building up AI companion. So to answer your question, I think it's definitely not a template. It's really personalized for Ian, personalized for Lijuan. That is the digital twin concept behind it. But do we need to do a lot of things? Again, I'm a strong believer of stupid simple. So AI is to make everyone's life easier rather than more complicated. So the personalization is a big part of this kind of workload we're doing. And the second thing, again, I think most unique is really the conversation has the most richest context. So if just you and me kind of enter a text prompt, it is just one sentence. It's hard to understand what exactly you want. But you and me, when we're talking, there are a lot of interesting context. What you respond, how I respond, that's additional input we're giving to the AI. So that's why I believe the AI companion that Zoom is providing is more powerful. This is really the rich dynamic context it's happening right now.
I mean, that's like probably the most, in some ways, complex product vision, like the digital twin direction, right? That's a harder thing to build than a bunch of templated workflows that a company would make available to their employees, right? That was one of the other patterns I suggested. Can you, and I know some of this is proprietary, I just know some of the people listening to the show are also just curious on like how these things come together. As much as you're willing to tell us, like, what are the problems you've solved in the stack when it comes to, specialized models, or how you handle tool calling, or how you define these, personalized interactions? I think it would just be interesting to hear like kind of the arc of, how you've gone about building these things.
Yes, it's definitely it's a stage. Kind of, it's not really one day we can achieve that digital twin North Star, but start with simple. Even today, I think I'm kind of every day living with my AI companion. So when I join a meeting with my teammates to brainstorm context, the aha moments is after this meeting, each of us is drafting a kickoff document, and AI is writing a different document for all the different attendees because we have different roles, PM, engineering manager, and also we have CTO in this meeting. It's totally different viewpoints. So this is where we can do as personalization at the first step. And also the other big part of personalization is really memory. So the more that we have interaction with AI, there are more context. It's not about the project we're discussing or the task we're trying to know them. It's more like who Lijuan is. So that's the other side of personalization.
Right.
Yeah. So it's digital twin is really long, kind of not short today or tomorrow, but the stage personalization is what we're building up every day. And also, again, come back to say we're having live conversation. So all this dynamic context we're having in the real world conversation, that's another layer of personalization to make the output looks different. Even if it's the same topic, it's the same group of attendees, but yesterday and today, the output looks different. So that's the small things of personalization, but make a big aha moments as a user.
Yeah. And there's this slider. I mean, for the people that are building in this space, I think everyone's trying to figure out a different version. I think, to just maybe create a contrast. If you're doing a categorization task with generative AI. It's the least flexible, and it's the most narrowly constrained, type of task you could do. There's a strict right answer. It's a simple, straightforward, categorization. You're done. What you're talking about is incredibly open-ended. It's got a lot of different things it could do. It also has a lot of personal preference and context aspects to it. How do you think about, as a builder, like, people can ask anything? What does good look like? How do you define quality in your world? What does getting better mean to you? It'd just be interesting to hear you talk about how you know if you're on the right track and how you decide if you're improving.
Yeah, it's great. As you have been saying, people say a lot of people might still think about AI products as question, Q&A, and then there is accuracy. But actually, I would say think in a different way. So the AI is not really just a kind of search or Q&A bot. AI is really, I'm treating it as a team member. If it's not really my digital twin, at least it start growing into that direction. Start from junior, moving to senior, and continue growing. So if you're thinking in that way, I think do not treat it as I'm having the right or wrong answer. It's really what is the most relevant and what is the most kind of fresh information that will help human to make a decision. So that's a better way to frame that kind of interaction. And come to us, how are we evaluating it? It's not about to say, hey, how many questions you're asking, how many meeting summaries you're really kind of check. It's just simple assistance. So we're talking about to say, what are you going to complete? What is really the task you're trying to kind of check after this meeting? And this is, we call it AI first. It's intent driven rather than to say which tool to use to take step one or step two. And for us, when we're evaluating to say, hey, is this really a good product or not, a good feature or not, we're more looking to the output value rather than to say how many times you're using it. You're using it because we're not giving you the accurate answer. So
Yeah, right.
yeah, that's definitely a different way to look into the quality.
I mean, that's an interesting problem, right? Like, if you deliver value, you want to do it in one shot. And if someone's going back and forth asking the companion to clarify, it's a negative signal. Like, how do you decide if that action has been successful because it happened in one shot, or if it was so bad that the user just walked away and didn't bother to follow up, right? Like, how do you instrument and decide whether you're succeeding from the standpoint of making a user of the system satisfied?
See, you already have a great answer in your question. You said, well, if people do not like it, they will walk away. So the most direct and straightforward KPI, and I believe most of the AI companies using, is weekly active users. So this is a very strong signal rather than the MAU or DAO. This is almost indicate this people already have a habit built with this AI product. And also, I think this is really very healthy if each of the feature, each of the task-driven product we're building, the retention of those weekly active users has been very high. That's really tell us it's a higher quality. So
Yeah.
Again, this is the word of really end-to-end task completion. It cannot happen in any single ecosystem. So this is a better together word. So it's hard to say, hey, do you really have the final answer, check or yes? But if people keep coming back and they're using more and more, that's the strongest indication of the quality and the value the AI product is providing.
Yeah. This isn't a theory that I've had. I'm curious to get your take on it. But there, I mentioned this like sliding scale, right? Between very defined, specific, narrowly scoped use cases and very open-ended, consumer or consumer-ish, use cases. I know most of your customers are business side, but it's a very open-ended product, right? So you end up with consumer-oriented metrics, weekly active users, broad senses of retention. Some of the companies we work with, they have hyper-specific metrics that are, about their domain because they're doing more narrowly scoped products. I'm just like often in these conversations where people are trying to figure out almost like it can be a holy war, right? About like, what are the right evals to run on your, platform, or what are the right metrics for AI? I just don't think that there's a single answer, right? I think it's probably contextual based on the kind of product you're building. So that was my theory. I'm just curious how you've thought about that. Like, do you agree? Do you see situations where there are other types of products where, you do want to know more than that from a quality perspective beyond retention and weekly active use? Just love to hear you reflect as a product leader, how you think through those trade-offs and measuring like what success means for an AI tool.
Yes, totally. I would say if there was one single KPI, that's the weekly active users, but definitely we're having all the different layers of KPI to make sure, hey, how we can really continuous improving, even kind of put aside as a general customer love or customer engagement. So either from the quality of the different kind of type of tasks we're aiming to look into, and also we're to say, hey, how we can make sure, for example, say, it doesn't mean it's a great interaction if you ask 10 questions. Sometimes one question, you get a great answer. It's the best.
Yep.
So there's a lot of very detailed kind of breakdown. Zoom is not only for kind of consumer. Zoom also have enterprise, have vertical, have departmental. So those specific cases, we definitely will look into those hero use cases and make sure to say, we're not only to say we're getting it done. We have the paid pass to get the most value out of that specific domain. But that's more like second layer to say, hey, we need to make sure we have the customer love. Doesn't matter you're working for enterprise or working for yourself or just personal life. We need to make sure you love it.
Right. Yeah. True north is user growth and retention. And then that's helpful to hear you talk about how you see the, supporting metrics. I would love to transition for the sake of time. I know, like, as you were a very experienced product leader in building and leading software teams in this field for a long time. One of the questions we run into a lot from other leaders is, how are other companies setting up and organizing their teams? Especially if they're evolving a more traditional software organization. I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about how you all do things at Zoom, maybe starting from the top, just like, how is the Zoom AI org structured? And maybe talk about like who's doing what, from a role standpoint.
Yeah, well, I can share how we're running today. And as a reference, it may not be the best, but I enjoy this way. So for us, we always have this concept of mini startup. And especially I'm working on the PM. So it's very clear for the PM, we're the one define why and what. So I think the why is very important. Once everyone is aligned on the why, this is the AI word. Everyone will figure out the what and the how. So this is how at the very high level product manager really align on those business kind of outcomes and also customer love, how we do it, and what is the success looks like. And then we'll have our engineer and design working very closely. So they're almost running as pairs together. Of course, we should have AI in this kind of operation layer as well. So this is a very fast kind of running mode. And most important thing for why, what, and how together is really data. So we're always looking to the data to say, what is our assumption? Does this success kind of criteria KPI with all the assumptions the data tell us we're right or wrong? So this is how we're doing that kind of fast iteration. So basically, I would say it's really running very fast iteration, and then we're trying to make all the org setup as agile as possible. So and make the decision framework in a very transparent way, so people does not need to ask, Lijuan, how do you think? I say, what's my answer because you're aware of my decision framework. Yeah.
And if that's the product org, like, what's the rest of the team look like? How do you all collaborate?
Yeah, this is a good question. I think for all the companies who are really running with this kind of AI transformation, there are always this kind of how we can make sure on one side we're running very fast, but on the other side we have also a very balanced world, especially Zoom has enterprise customers. So we do have our intentional, we'll have the system to really get the balance to make sure the customers will be happy with how fast we are in terms of running the state of the art AI capabilities. But on the other side, we're very kind of enterprise kind of thoughtfulness with all the process to make sure they are feeling under control. So a lot of time I'll say it's not about fast or slow. It's always give the customer the feeling and also have the confidence of everything under control. So that's how we're doing the balance.
Interesting. And that's, maybe you can talk a little bit more about that idea about, shipping stable, safe, trustworthy, all those positive adjectives, AI products into an enterprise customer base. Like, it's tricky. There's a lot of reasons people, are extra skeptical, especially given some of the early stuff like hallucination on ChatGPT, right? How do you all as an organization approach that problem? Like, what are some of the tactics that you all use to make sure what goes out the door is really trustworthy and works?
Yeah, I think this is really kind of from the first day. It doesn't matter it's enterprise or it's consumer. So we want to make sure transparency and human is having the full control as this fundamental thing. So with that one, the only difference for enterprise and consumer is which kind of target cohort is more open for default on, opt out, and which one is more kind of say, let's wait, let's do this default off, and having that 30, 60, 90 days kind of rolling out and has opt in to build up the confidence. So again, I think from the first day, no matter who is building up the AI product, always make sure full transparency and make human being under control at all the times. And then it's just a kind of at which stage who is feeling comfortable and have the confidence to be all in.
Yep. On the path to get there, maybe like advice for other leaders in this field, but what are the things you have done as a team, whether it's, rituals and team cadence or practices around things like evals or who knows what it might be, but would love to hear like, what are one or two like just really practical things you've adopted and done as a team that have been successful that you'd suggest other people, consider doing similar?
Yeah, well, the first thing I have been shared is really kind of running a startup, be clear who's on what, and also it's very important, I think, have a clear decision framework. So in that case, everyone can make a decision even without kind of checking around. Is everyone on the same page? The decision framework is very important, need to be aligned at the very beginning. And the second thing I think in this AI world is really do not be afraid to fail. So fast iteration is fail fast, learn fast. This is also very important. This is the mindset. So people always say, I don't know, no one knows. So this is not really traditionally, people have a clear understanding where the customer problem is. This is really the time of exploring new opportunities. Everyone can become the builder of the future. So have the mindset of fail fast, learn fast, and grow fast. That's also very important.
Fail fast is hard to do in a big enterprise organization. I've been there. Is there anything that you've done at the team level or, in terms of how you have set things up to give folks permission to do that? Like, how have you created a culture where that works?
Well, I think fail fast is not to say, hey, I'm waiting after 30 days. No, I fail. After 3 years, I know I fail. I think fail fast is always, again, come back to that decision framework. So we know what is the assumptions we're trying to verify. So that fail or failure is really boxed. So everyone understands there's not much consequence beside that fail. So it's just to say decision framework is clear, what is the consequence, and most time there's no kind of terrible consequence behind it. It's just to verify what works, what doesn't. So that's a way to say it's a different way to define what is a failure, I would say.
No, that's helpful. I know we're getting close on time. I want to respect your time. Maybe like one or two more questions, but as we wrap up, I'd just love to hear your thoughts kind of about the future. Like, as you think about the next horizon for your team and, the problems that are hard to solve today, but, you wish you could solve and are going to make a big difference tomorrow. What do you think about as that horizon line right now? What are some of those big challenges that you want to see solved?
Well, my biggest challenge, actually, I feel it is the biggest opportunity today is just use myself as personal kind of my biggest wish as a customer as well, because I have too many meetings. And not only about meetings, I have a lot of conversations. So how can I get all the kind of to-dos done without me spending too much time to follow up? That will be the one we're really looking to. And this is where Zoom has been focused on conversation to completion. So it's not only about to say the time saving, but also this is the mental kind of cognitive load kind of relief to say. It's not to say, oh my God, I have full day meeting. I need to almost equal time to really finish whatever I committed in the meeting. But now it's changing into, well, I have full day meeting. AI already tell me. These are the 5 things that AI has been running as a workflow. And then I just need to review to say, approve, yes, all different. I give you the feedback. So this is where we're really nailing down to say, hey, your meeting is the most productive time, rather than to say, oh my God, I have too much meeting time. I have no time to follow up.
No time to do the real work.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
If you can give that to the world, I know a lot of people, myself included, who want it. That's great. As we wrap up, maybe like last question, if you're advising, another product leader or another engineering leader who's, working on similar problems, like building a complex agent that's talking to a memory system, all these things that you're doing, what's your highest alpha advice for them on what they can do to be successful quickly?
I would say always be clear. Who are the ones you're building this product for? Again, so it's hard to build something working for everyone and can fix everything. So clear who you are building this product for. What exactly the aha moments you're bringing in. This is very important. And the second thing is really go with AI first. They're not trying to build a little bit here and there as assistant help, but really kind of dream big. It's my daily dream. I can 5 minutes of the day wrap up after all the meetings. So you want to believe in whatever you're building, achieve that goal. And as a human being, you'll love that achievement. I think this is most important.
Yeah, it feels like we can't dream big enough right now with all the things that are changing. Well, this is awesome. Thank you so much for joining and talking with us. For anybody that wants to follow along, keep up with the product, keep up with what you're talking about professionally, what should they know and where can they do that?
Yeah, they can just either contact me through LinkedIn or send me email on my Zoom address.
Awesome. And I think it's ai.zoom. What was the URL that you pointed to before for the product? People want to try it.
Yeah, it's ai.zoom.us.
Awesome. We'll drop those in the show notes. Lijuan, it's great to spend the time with you. Thank you for talking with us. And I'll look forward to the next time. Have a great day.
Thank you, Ian. Bye.
See you. All right. That's all we have for today's episode of Deployed, the AI Product Podcast. I'm Ian Cairns, CEO and co-founder of FreePlay. I hope you enjoyed listening. And if you did, we'd love to hear about it. Your reviews mean a lot. They help other listeners. So give us a like, share, subscribe, wherever you're listening to this. And if something stood out to you in the episode, or if you've got feedback or ideas for a future episode, or if you simply just want to learn more what we're up to at FreePlay, shoot me a note. I'm Ian at freeplay.ai. You can also find me on Twitter @Cairns. Thanks so much for listening.